Hi, and welcome to the R2RB Indie Artist Podcast. And today I have with me Eric Baker,
I'm Barker.
aka Barker. Hi, Eric. Thank you for joining me. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you so much for inviting me to be here.
Oh,
I have such great respect for what you do for your radio station. That's one of the best ones that I've listened to. So
well, thank you so much. I
it's an honor.
appreciate that. Thank you so much. I am so happy to have you here. All
Thank
right.
you.
So, as you know, I like to ask two questions to get us warmed up. And the first one is, if you could have one superhero power, which one would it be and why?
Hmm. Wow. I'm going to go with how about intangibility, where you can just go through walls and ceilings and roofs and whatnot. I hate walking. Get that all out of the way. I have to walk upstairs, just poof, right through the ceiling. That'd be great.
There you go. You wouldn't have to worry about your 10,000 steps a day.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. All right. And so, what piece of advice would you give to your 16-year-old self?
My 16-year-old self. Wow. I would tell him to get the heck out of Dodge, join a circus, if you have to, save yourself. You're better than what you were made to believe, and find something you love and dedicate yourself to it.
I like that.
I think that would have saved me a lot of hassles if I would have
Okay.
known that.
All right. All right. Good. All right. So, I've been wanting to ask this question. Barker with the two dots on the A and the
Yes.
upside down E. Where does the name come from and why did you choose that name?
It's part of my punk nom de plume, which was like your pen name. I was known as Earache Barker for a long time when I was a punk rocker. And I took Barker, the phonetic spelling. If you look into the dictionary, that's exactly how it's spelled, with the two dots, the umlauts, and the upside down E. And I figured it would be really a pain in the butt for myself to type myself in and for anybody else. So, you have to be dedicated. If you want to listen to Barker and type it in, everybody's like, why do you do this? I don't know.
I like that. And you're right. You are, if you're going to listen to Barker, you're going to be dedicated.
That's
Absolutely.
absolutely.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I like that. All right. So, how did music become part of who you are today?
I was conceived during the weekend of the Manson Tate murders. I was brought home 4 days after the Kent State shootings. So I had a big soundscape of hippie music like in my childhood. Like I can't remember not having music being played. The
Wow.
Beatles and the
Right.
Monkees
Yeah.
and Bob Dylan was a big
Right.
one. Yeah,
Oh
so
my
I was just, because of my parents, because of my dad, basically.
Wow. Okay. All right. So were your parents, did they listen to the music? Were they musicians themselves?
No, not well. I guess my dad played the guitar, and
Okay.
maybe thought himself one.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, well, my mother and father separated very early.
Yeah.
So, but I know that she liked the Monkees.
Okay.
So
And I think most of us at that stage or that age, we all did like the monkeys. I know I did.
how could you not?
I know, right?
Really.
It was good. I like that. Who was your biggest influencer in the music that got you motivated to go that path?
I would have to say my uncle Larry. He was supremely influential to me. He once played me a Residence album while taking me to an arcade to play Dig Dug, I think it was. And it was so bizarre, so different than anything I had been listening to with the Beatles and John Lennon. And I started crying. It was so powerfully strange to me, but it stuck there, and he would keep influencing me with Talking Heads and, the Husker Du was another really big one. So he, as far as musically, was probably my biggest influence.
Okay. And then at what age do you find yourself then getting into music yourself?
I would say about 10, 11 is when I really started. MTV, when it first started, was a big deal to kids my generation. We would just listen to this, watch that stuff all day. And
Yeah.
you would latch onto your favorites and the Clash, Rock the Casbah, you know.
Yeah,
That's where it really, really started. And then
it really did.
you'd save up money and buy a record every once in a while,
Oh,
and you didn't know anything, and you would just go by the cover, what
yeah.
looked cool.
Right?
I got some really bad stuff that way, but really good stuff too. So,
There was nothing like going into that record store,
ugh,
flipping through the albums, looking at the cover art.
yep.
Maybe you knew who it was, maybe you didn't, but you bought the album because you liked the cover,
Perfect. Exactly. That's
right?
exactly how I did it. I
Yeah.
didn't have many people, for a long time influencing me as far as that stuff goes. So a lot of that stuff I learned on my own.
All
And
right.
it was basically just pick and choose, whatever I can
Yeah.
find that was cool.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, my gosh, I mean, not to give my age away, but it was first the 8 tracks and then it was the cassettes and and the albums still along the way and coming fast forward and now we have everything digitized.
Yep. Yep. And now it's going back to cassettes,
Yeah. I had said
People.
to my business partner the other day because I had a conversation about with somebody, things are changing and they're thinking about putting out the CD sampler again.
Yeah, right. I mean,
And my
I don't
business.
even have a CD player anymore. I don't.
Well, I do, and the reason why I do is at my office I had this display for the kids to see that I had vinyl cassettes, an 8 track, a cassette player,
Yeah.
and that's why I still have one. I'm not even quite sure if it works, but I have it. It's like crazy, but yeah, it's funny how things evolve when we kind of go back to how it all got started.
Yeah, what's old is new sometimes,
Yeah, right.
nostalgia sells. I always say that,
Absolutely.
and it's
Yeah,
true.
absolutely. So when you were, flipping through albums and getting into the music, you went the punk rock way.
Pretty much. Yeah. Punk rock was kind of a subversive thing for me.
Right.
When I got into it, I remember as a kid, we were driving down Cleveland streets, my dad and I, and there's an abandoned building, and painted on this building were the words Sex Pistols. And I didn't know what that was. And I turned to him and I'm like, hey, Dad, if you get shot by a Sex Pistol, would I turn into a girl? And he got so mad. He slammed on the brakes and he stopped and he's like, the Sex Pistols are filthy degenerates. Don't you ever, ever talk about them again. And it
It
stuck
stuck.
there. Yeah. So when you go through your rebellious stage, you pick out the one thing is most subversive to
Oh my God.
your parents.
There
So
you go.
yes.
All right.
And
So
he
did so
hated
the
it.
so did that punk era then carry on through?
Pretty much, pretty much. I mean, I don't really listen to it so much anymore. I've changed as far as things go, but for a long time, that's how I identified myself as, more of a punker than anything else.
Cool. All
I was
right.
in bands and I fronted things and it was more screaming type of music,
Right.
no crooning involved.
So you get through that stage and adulthood, you're into when does it start to change for you though, from punk into kind of going into where you are now?
I would say probably after we started having kids and I started settling down and got out of a lot of things.
Right.
And I had kids and I wanted to tell them that I was kind of cool at one time. So I started this back up again. And I just didn't have the heart to scream all the time,
Anymore.
type of stuff. And so I went into this electronic stuff and they still have no interest in what I do. None, none. My
It's
littlest will
it's
listen to it and just hold her head and just walk away.
it's
But
tough being
hey,
a parent.
oh, it sure is. But it's so rewarding. It really is.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. All right, so we get through that, and then you get into the electronic stuff, and then is that when Barker kind of
Yes,
started to come about?
pretty much. When I first started, I was just messing around, with some Ableton Live, which is a program that you can use to start recording stuff. And I was doing that for about a year. And I hooked up with a friend of mine, and we worked under a project called Linda Sharp Trio. And I learned a lot from him, and we did a lot of really cool stuff. But collaborations can be very fragile things.
Right.
So it kind of broke apart. And I started this Barker thing earlier this year. And that's when I really put all devotion into this for the most part. Now I'm doing everything myself, where it used to be you'd have somebody helping, but
All right. So tell us what Barker encompasses. What do you put, what's your genre, if you want to use that term? Because you don't have a genre, but
no, experimental. I
I like
consider
that.
it experimental drama, because
Oh,
I
I like
have a lot of dialogue samples running through it, and experimental public service announcements.
Yeah,
What I do is so different.
it
I don't
is.
even know what you'd call it,
I
really.
don't either, but I just remember when I came across you on Facebook, and I went to listen to your music. I'm like, well, wait a minute. What is that? And so
Yeah.
that I was like, oh. And then I had to, listen to it again because the first time I wasn't sure what I was listening to because it is very different.
Yes.
And so when I listened to it and then I got to know you and then I got to read about you and the more that I put it together, it made sense. And yet it is just, I would have, well, that's why you are and do what you do, because I would have never in a million years thought of taking those conversations and put it together like you do.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you.
So tell us, what that is about and what you do and where you pull it from.
Well, for a long time, I had a great interest in old public service announcements and advertisements and, school education films. So I would collect all this stuff, and I didn't know what I was going to do with it until I got into this electronic stuff. Before, I had been writing lyrics, and it got to the point where there was nothing I can say that hasn't been said before in these recordings that I've
Right.
been doing. Coming from some voice from the 1950s is a little bit different than some 50-year-old guy saying, "Hey, eat your vegetables,"
Right.
you know. So I started just cutting this in to leave messages, essentially, to whoever is interested in listening to it, really, is
Yeah.
how I look at it.
Okay. Yeah, but it is so interesting. It is different. Some of the recordings are, definitely a little off and to the left, which
Yes,
I always like because it's always, it is definitely different. Do you do any writing at all? Did you
I
do
do.
writing? You do
Yes,
still.
I do. Yeah, my father was a recovering great American novel writing. He would always, that's what his goal was forever, the great American novel.
Oh
And
wow.
he never hit it,
Okay.
but I took it up from him, and I've been
Okay.
writing poetry and lyrics and short stories and stuff like that for a long time, just for my own enjoyment, really.
Okay. Do you take any of that and put that into your
Yes,
music,
yes, I
your
do.
recording?
I have started to. I came up with something recently, Memories of the Mayfly. It was like an EP of like, I don't know, 6 or 7 songs. And there is some pretty personal stuff in there.
Okay.
And the last one is just a straight poem that I had written a long time ago.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's pretty heady stuff, you know.
I've listened to pieces of it. Yeah, absolutely.
It's pretty disturbing,
And
it's very muckraking for myself.
and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. All right. So, and this is what I like because then I get to talk to the person that's behind all this, what you have put together, to get to understand it even better. So you take it down and bring it to a little bit different depth for people to understand. Because, like I said,
Right.
when I first started listening, it was like, what?
Yeah.
And
I
then,
think most people do, and most people after that just turn it off,
no. Oh my gosh.
and go back to,
No.
Led Zeppelin or whatever.
Oh no, yeah, no, 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 not at all. Do you use any AI programming?
No, I have used an AI art program to do
Okay.
2 album covers, or to help me with 2 album covers. But other than that, no, it wasn't really until talking to you last time, and then a little bit before that, where I learned that people were actually writing songs with AI, doing the
Yes.
singing and the playing.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. It really did.
Yeah.
I'm very secluded
Yeah.
culturally. Really, I am, because I don't really like what's out there too much. I had no idea that was even possible. Really, I didn't. I knew that it was used for writing purposes,
Right.
but
Right.
now it's writing music.
Yeah.
Wow.
I
Wow.
think there's different levels of the AI that indie artists are using. And I've had this, it's now almost a year that I've been having this discussion with different indie artists. AI's always been around. It just
Yes.
really just hit hard almost a year ago when it hit the scene. And everybody at that time said, oh my God, it's going to be a terrible thing. It's all going to be all bad. It's not all bad. And I think the indie artists who have, such a passion for their work and have been at their passion for a long time, if they're using it, it's for, for a particular piece or something that they couldn't get out of something else that they've been using. And for me,
Exactly.
that's fine. And I think the biggest example is the John Lennon song, where they were able to pull his voice out and redo it and put it back into the song. And that's wonderful and that's beautiful. So,
I have not heard that yet.
yeah, no, yeah, I got to find that. John,
I will.
yeah, John Lennon.
It was that Beatles
Yeah,
song, right?
a
Yeah.
Beatles song, yeah.
Yeah.
So that was
Yeah.
pretty cool. So yeah, I mean, and then there's, there always, no matter what it is, there's always going to be that person that's going to use it for the bad,
Of course. Like
So
anything else,
yeah,
really.
yeah,
With
absolutely.
with AI, in my lifetime, sampling was considered very, very bad by musical purists. You were
Yeah,
not allowed to sample even dialogue. I don't sample music, but even cutting dialogues was considered something really cheesy. And
right.
before that, you might remember when electric guitars was considered really bad, by jazz
Oh,
purists and whatnot. You know what I mean?
yeah,
It's what you make of it. It's what you do with
exactly.
it. Like you said, some people just need to have an outlet for their creative expression. And if that's what they need to use, just make sure to credit it. Credit
Exactly.
it.
That's right. Yeah. And you had said about the AI and the art. And I think what AI is able to do with the imagery is absolutely phenomenal. It's
Blows
just
my mind.
mind blowing, right?
Yep.
Oh my
Yep. And
God.
I know a lot of artists don't like that either,
No,
the
and
visual
that's
artists.
yeah, that's the same on that side as well. So there's
Yeah.
always going to be that double-edged sword with
There
whatever.
will, but you're going to have to live with it because I don't think it's ever going away.
No, absolutely. I mean, I use it. I'm not going to say that, that I don't. I use it for my writing. If I'm stuck on something or if I can't come up with whatever, I certainly, yeah, I have definitely have turned to it as well. I want to talk about you have collaborated with some really awesome indie artists.
Boy, yes, I got very lucky. Very
You
lucky.
got they got lucky.
Well, 50-50 maybe.
All right, all
Maybe.
right. So how did that come about? And how did that come about? And from, the type of the music that you put together, how did you evolve that into collaborating with the other indie artists?
Well, it started off when Feminoise, Mel from Feminoise came up and asked me if I wanted to collaborate with something. And I thought she was talking to somebody behind me or something because it couldn't have been me, but because of what I do is very, as we discussed, very different.
Right.
But she appreciates that and she wanted to do something different. We came up with a single, this dystopian communications, which
Yeah,
came up pretty good.
it did.
And that was kind of along my lines as far as
Right,
that stuff goes. And it
right,
wasn't too different than what I was
right,
doing. And then I came up with Tracy from Subtlety asked me. I don't know if you're
right.
familiar with her work.
Yes,
She's a phenomenal singer-songwriter.
yes.
She is a crooner, a
Yeah,
piano crooner, seriously. And she asked me, and I took it as a challenge, really, because it's not anything that I would have ever imagined working on, really.
right,
And she presented me with this piece that blew my mind. It was so beautiful what she wrote.
right.
And I just tried to put my little spin on it as much as I can without touching the piece. It worked out pretty interestingly well.
It
People seem
did.
to like it for some reason.
Oh my
So,
God, both of those were phenomenal.
well, thank you very much. Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
very proud of them both. I consider
absolutely.
it a validation of producing stuff. I think I can do almost anything, maybe.
Hmm.
They gave me that power, which was very nice of them. Very,
Yeah.
very cool.
Do you have anything else in the works collaborating with somebody else?
Yeah, we got in the can with do you know who the Ghost of Rucker is?
Oh,
Have you heard of
yes.
him? Oh, I love
Oh my
Ghost
gosh.
of Rucker. We have something that's soon to be released.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's very exciting.
Okay.
Yes. And then I'm going to be working with Arar Neb. I had to pronounce that properly. It's a Welsh pronunciation, and I think
Oh,
I got it. Arar Neb.
oh, pretty
But
good.
he's pretty cool. Yes, he's really good. So I'm excited to work out with him too.
Oh, fantastic.
It'll be a nice end of the year.
Yeah, right. Yeah. End of the year. I can't believe we're in the middle of October. It's like, how did that
Oh,
happen?
I have
Oh
no
my
idea.
gosh. Unbelievable. All right. So that brings us to your newest release, which is Live from the Basement, Kent, Ohio 24.
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
So I've listened to it and then I went back and emailed you and said, explain this to me.
Yes. I
Explain
was
it to me
invited.
again.
Well, I was invited. There's an art collective based out of Kent, Ohio, which is Kent University. It's a college town. And I was invited to do a live mix set which is, you're mixing all these sounds and dialogues. And it was a sound and discussions event. So in between the setups of the sound artists, they would have somebody sit up there and talk about topics of the day. I got my hand on those topics of the day subjects and I wove them in to this set that I was doing. Some people didn't like that very much. I don't think I'm going to do it again. I'm pretty
No?
sure I won't be invited back.
Oh,
No. Yeah, they didn't like how they thought I was just making a joke of it, but I really wasn't. I was just trying to make a point. Them getting angry at my point is that, you have to be willing to accept other people's opinions and
yeah.
respect them. You
Right.
can't just talk into an echo chamber for too long. Once
No.
you do, what else is there? It's
Exactly.
nothing. You need some voice. Socrates' gadfly. He would just
Yes.
come in and poke people just to make them
Yeah.
think a little bit. Now they didn't like what I poked. If you've listened to it, there's a lot of religion was a big subject. Feminism was a big subject.
Right.
And I cut it up pretty subversively, I would say. But I'm pretty proud of it, really.
Yeah, no.
It was
No.
hard. It was really hard. It was.
I think if I had listened to that for the very first time without knowing the background of Bärker, I probably would have said, "What?"
Yeah.
And I may
Get
not
out.
have. What?
Yeah. Right.
But like I said, there's a story behind all of this. There's a story to you, to Eric, and what you have done with the electronic side of it all and pulling it all together, right? I mean, and they invited you, so I'm not quite sure what they were expecting you to do because you're an artist.
Yeah, exactly. Well, there was many artists along these lines. So at this event. So it's not like I was doing something so alien.
Right.
I think just they didn't like that I was using their subject matter as fodder. So they said.
Mm-hmm. That's all right. No. So you have to go listen to this. So it's live from the basement at Kent, Ohio, at 24. And then, if you're going to start there, then you have to go all the way back to, where you started, and then come forward with this because it's just really catches you. Like I said, the first time it was like, what? And then,
Yes.
Then when you listen to it, and you go some deep places. That is for sure.
I try to. Yes, I do.
Yeah, and you do, and you do it well.
I appreciate that compliment. That means a lot. Thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. Let me ask you this question: what advice would you give another indie artist wanting to, start out these days?
I would suggest trying to limit yourself in social media, for one thing, because that opens up so many of the human conditions. It self-doubt, it pushes that, and this fear of rejection, because there's so many people that post to these things and then get crushed because there's not enough likes. You have to be strong and you have to really know how important your art is to you. You have to put blinders on and just go as far as you can, as long as you can. You have to live with the human condition of that. You have to be able to master all of those, hold the reins. You can't have the rein of your horse getting pulled too far.
That's
one
right.
way or the other.
Absolutely.
You have to keep them going straight. You have to keep them all together. So just try your best. Try not to listen to everybody.
I like that. Absolutely. Because nowadays it's, it had been the social media for so long, the numbers and the algorithms and the likes and everything else. And it's funny because once again, we'll talk about that too. It's like it comes around. The indie artists are being knocked down on Facebook. They're being taken down. They're having their music taken down. You're not allowed to post. You can't. I won't stay on my soapbox. It is. It really is.
My opinion
is
that they are trying to get you to verify yourself through Facebook, which is a monthly fee, and that gets that little blue check mark. So now the community was so nice for so long. Now it's swamped by bots and advertisements, and like you said, people are getting kicked off. And I think they want you to verify yourself.
I agree 100% because that is what I have said from the beginning when all this started is that stay tuned because it's going to come down to the monetary with Facebook and maybe not so much Instagram, but definitely on Facebook. That's where it's headed. It's either going to be this subscription. I didn't even think about verified, and they'll have different levels of verify. So, this is a super verify and you get to pay $50 a month and bingo, you are hitting it. Yep, absolutely. I totally agree 100% because that's the bottom line for Facebook.
It's a bottom
I
line for
don't care.
anybody anymore, really, it
Right.
seems. Just
It's
the
the
monetary
dollars.
gain. Yep.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
absolutely. And that goes back to what you said about, indie artists starting out. Don't start out thinking that Facebook is it all that it is all there is out
No,
there
no.
because run.
Yeah. Streaming services as well. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't know. I think streaming services they're great if you are the listener.
right,
If you are the artist, I don't think it really does so much, really. And people are so involved in that. There's
right.
so many playlists going
Yeah.
on.
There's so much more out there that I mean, we all get that tunnel vision and we all have done it. But there are other platforms that the indie artists these days have to look at. So,
I agree. Yes.
that's a discussion that I want to have a roundtable discussion with, which will come next year.
That would be very interesting. I'd
Yes.
love to listen to that.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So you were a guest panelist on Vox and Guest. What was that experience like that I
Oh,
happened to
that
tune in?
that was nerve-wracking. I gotta tell you, it really was. But it was a lot of fun. It was really, really
I
cool.
agree.
I was invited to appear on their show a couple times, but I had to turn them down for various reasons. And they put me on a panel with Deidre Patrick and
Yeah,
Kurt from
she's
Crypt
great.
13.
Kurt,
Oh,
yeah,
they're both
yep,
so
phenomenal.
knowledgeable. And then there's me, who's just sitting there,
Yeah,
trying to
no,
think of something witty to say,
you were
something
great.
that might be relevant. Because again, I'm very socially and culturally very much a recluse. I don't know genres and references. But I tried to nod my head in the right places.
You did. No,
But
they're great.
but
Definitely, Christina is great. The
Fox,
both of them, yeah, yeah,
oh, they
absolutely,
such a
great
great
people.
service for the community,
Yeah,
what they
that
do.
absolutely. It's
Wonderful
funny.
people.
It's funny because and I say this often that I'm an introvert doing the podcasting and the radio and being a wedding officiant. But at the end of and actually, still get very anxious and will have a small panic attack before each one.
Well, nobody would ever know. And see, that's where you got it down. That's right. I'm like usually shaking like next, I'm trying to put my hands under the table.
I don't get the sweaty palms like I used to.
Oh, see, there you go.
So
Yeah.
I guess I'm getting a little bit better. Absolutely. So you reside in Ohio with your family,
Yes.
and are you from Ohio or did you migrate?
No, I was born in Parma, Ohio,
Okay.
which is the capital, I'm telling you, musically of Ohio. There's so
Oh,
many musicians that came out of Parma, Ohio, a lot of
wow.
punk bands, a lot of metal bands,
Oh, cool.
But yeah, we moved around a lot as a kid, but I came back and we settled down here, and my wife and I, we love it, really,
Cool.
we love it here.
What do you like
It's
to do when you're not doing dad stuff and music stuff? Do you have hobbies?
No,
No.
because I've got so many dad stuff, and my daughter, our littlest one, she has horseback riding and volleyball, and this and that, and open gyms, and keeps us running.
Yeah, I
But I love
remember
it.
those days.
Yeah, so yeah, but I love it.
Oh, awesome. That is so great. So where can everybody find you?
Probably on Bandcamp. Bandcamp would probably be the best,
Okay.
but good luck typing it in.
So I'm going to tell you a secret. I actually had to Google how to get the two dots on the A.
Oh, there you go. Yes, it's like a command something or another. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I found one that worked. It was like Alt 0228 for those of you who are listening.
Perfect. I just copy and paste myself all over. Barker, copy paste, copy paste.
Yeah, but you're right. Bandcamp. Bandcamp is a good place to find you. Is there
Yes.
anything else you'd like to share that I haven't touched on tonight?
I think you had asked me a very interesting question about the state of indie music right now.
Yes.
I think that was one of the
Yep.
questions.
Yep.
Well, it's so talented and so saturated, the
Both.
independent music scene right now. I mean, it is so talented, and there's just too much. I mean, I don't know how people do it. How do you listen to 50 bands that are just so good? They're
Yeah.
just amazing. Someone like Plains Desperate Symphony, who I really,
Oh,
really
they're
like.
good.
He came up with a very profound album called Full Lucid not long ago.
Right.
And, it's bumped out of the limelight by another person's gem within days, and you don't see it anymore. And it's really
Right.
sad. I don't know how people do it. It's far too dependent, as I said, on streaming platforms. I do believe. I really, really do. Get yourself on Bandcamp. At least try to sell yourself, I find as a listener, it's much more gratifying to buy your music and put it on my computer and listen to it at my leisure, not at Daniel X leisure on Spotify or, Apple Music's leisure. So, and I'd like to give you money.
Yes.
I'm happy to throw you $5, whatever you want to charge me.
And that's a great point, because the other part of Facebook is the follow. Don't you want your people to be a listener? Don't you want that fan to go to Bandcamp where they can listen to you,
Of
purchase
course.
your
Yep.
album or a single, and
Yep.
be a true listener and a true number, if that's what you're looking for, then versus the follow for follow on Facebook, that they don't necessarily even listen to what your music is.
No, I think most of the time those follow for followers is just a marketing thing. They just want you to follow them, really.
Yeah.
Really, like you said, people don't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Bandcamp is used a lot more than I think. I mean, I use it quite a bit,
Yeah, yeah, a
but
lot.
it makes you more
Right.
invested in being a fan of somebody's music, in my
As
opinion.
well as that, absolutely. And there's radio stations that the new indie artists, or any artist, that if you're passionate about what you're doing, you send it out to the radio stations, the online radio stations,
R2RB.
R2RB Broadcasting, absolutely. But it's true.
Mhm.
That's where I feel where also it's evolving to, is that you just can't rely on social media anymore.
No, no, you
If you
can't.
really
No.
are looking to, make a go of your passion and, your music, then you want just more than, like we just said, a follow for a follow. I want somebody, if I was in that position, I would want a true fan listening to my music. And that's what we were back in the day. We were fans. We were true listeners. We didn't have follow and hearts and
No,
everything else. So,
no,
if we loved a certain person, you bought every single album, every CD,
everything.
every cassette. You
Yep.
you had the whole kit and caboodle.
Yep. And that's how I try to look at, still do things. I, Ghost of Rucker, I've bought most of his stuff, Feminoids. You just go and buy them just to say, hey, you're great. Here's my way of showing you. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
I don't know, but
It's
it is getting a little bit more popular. Bandcamp. There's a lot of Facebook groups that push this, so I'm
yeah.
sure they're going to get shut down any day.
Yeah. Isn't that true? Oh my God, that's usually what ends up happening. Yeah, but I like that one. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that one up.
These subjects are very important. I really, really do, to the independent musician scene. This is stuff that people have got to start getting their heads on, in my humble opinion, just my opinion. Fight back from this corporate stuff.
Yeah.
You can still do it. You can still make newsletters, get your friends emails and just email them your goings on,
That's
and,
it.
and if they really like you, like you said, they will support you.
Yeah. And it goes with the radio stations. You take your song,
Yes.
you email it and say whatever you say with your bio, send the MP3 to them, because they're not going to come looking for you.
No. Yeah. No,
I mean,
that's
and
right.
that's how I get a lot of music, because, they've seen me on Facebook, but they'll email me and send me an MP3. They'll send me their bio, and say, by any chance, could you give it airplay? And to do that, that's, I'm more than happy if it's, something that I really, really want to share. Most of the time I share what I get, but
You're a great supporter of the scene, I tell you. Really, no, really, you are. A lot of people really, really appreciate what you do.
thank you. I appreciate that, because I never really expected to be doing what I'm doing at this stage of the game, and I do
Sure.
enjoy it. So thank you for that. But yeah, there are definitely other ways to get out there and to be recognized, and not be making the 0.00003.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You look at my Spotify numbers, they're all under 1,000.
Yeah,
It's just, you look at it and you're just like,
I know. Yeah. So
So,
and you can be so discouraged so easily when it's the numbers game like that. So
yes,
you know,
yes, right.
yeah.
I'm old enough not to really, I'm not striving for success at all. I'm just
Right.
striving to make art. But
Yeah.
there are people that this is what they really, really
Really
want,
Yeah.
and they get really hurt by these
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
this numbers game.
Yeah. Yep. So hopefully time will change that as well.
We're hoping.
We're hoping.
We can just keep trying,
That's it. That's
Yep.
it. Eric, this has been great. Thank you so much for being with
Oh,
me tonight. It's been a pleasure getting to know you.
I really appreciate this. It was a really great evening. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. All right. So once again, they can find you at Bärker. That is the A with the two dots on top. They can find you on Facebook. They can find you on Bandcamp,
Yep.
and they can reach out to you. And
I'll say hi anytime.
absolutely. And you have a website as
I
well,
do.
which
Yes, I
is
do. Yeah, it's barkerssightsandsounds.com. It's something silly. Yeah.
yeah, but it's part of you.
Yes, yes, ma'am. That's right.
That's it. All right. Eric, thank you so much again.
Deb, thank you so much.
You're welcome.